Welcome and Happy New Year. We hope the holidays were wonderful and we're excited to start the new year with you here on PCN Life.
On this episode, Leslie Cutler is back with some mindful moments on how we can use the winter months to grow internally.
And we have Brian Duchaney, local singer-songwriter, on set for our arts and entertainment segment.
But we start our show with a new segment called Citizen Profiles. Meet Marilee Driscoll, a nationally recognized entrepreneur consultant with a great big heart for Plymouth and its business community. Marilee is a member here at PACTV and has been producing a show called The Plymouth Show. She's also the spearhead behind the Plymouth123.com, a website designed to raise awareness about Plymouth-based small businesses and their events. We stopped into a Plymouth Show taping to learn a little bit about this go-getter.
Let's see who's dropped in. I moved to Plymouth when my two sons were in elementary school and just fell in love with the town. I've been a business consultant for over 20 years now on a national basis and had no local business at all. And I think what I've realized over time is that there's two kinds of people in the world. Those that are business owners and those that wish they had their own business. And so what Plymouth has done for me is allowed me to spread my wings in a different way, in a local way, as opposed to national. I got involved with PACTV about 4 years ago because I just thought it would be interesting because video is so important to businesses and to marketing. And the programs that they have are just amazing in order to learn filming and editing. So fast forward about 3 years, and I decided to marry my interest in video with my love of telling business owners stories and letting them say who they are. And the result is the Plymouth Show on PACTV. In the last few months, I've started two distinct new local initiatives. One is Things to Do in Plymouth, Mass., which is an events calendar specific to Plymouth. It's just been something that I've wanted to see for years, and finally, as an entrepreneurial, business-minded person, I was like, darn it, no one else is going to do it. I'm going to do it. And in conjunction with that, I developed the concept for the Plymouth Show. And so that brings business owners and other important people like executive directors, artists, journalists into Studio B at PACTV to reintroduce in some cases, these important people that make Plymouth such a great place to live in and visit. It's a really exciting time to be in Plymouth, and it's a really exciting time to be able to almost chronicle it.
We're pleased to have back on set Leslie Cutler, who's a licensed psychotherapist. Leslie does her section with us that we call Mindful Moments.
Hi, Julie. Thank you. It's nice to be here today.
Happy New Year.
Thank you, and Happy New Year to you as well.
And it started off really cold.
It did, yes. These winter months can be a bit cruel, and I think we've all felt that the last couple days, but it really got me thinking about how we can use this time of year to grow internally.
Okay.
And I think this is an interesting topic because I think it's so easy to get lost in the craziness of, prepping for these storms, wondering if there's school and this whole thing. And, there's an absolute beauty in winter that I think very few people even tend to notice. I mean, this is the one time of year the ocean is this electrical blue color.
Yeah.
And you can see the lines of all the trees. And yes, there's this barrenness, but there's also so much growth that's happening beneath the surface that we don't see. And I think of like tulips and apple trees. They would never bloom if they didn't have this dark, cold season.
Right.
And, this is same way that we could kind of move this internally as well, that there are parts of ourselves that can bloom during these dark months.
Because a lot of people at this time of year just hunker down.
Yes.
Even their eyes are down all the time. You want to keep warm. There's very little
Yes.
light during the day. You come to work, it's dark. You leave work, it's dark. It can be really challenging for a lot of people. So you've come up with 5 different tips to help the winter months, through the winter months, to grow internally.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so the first one, make severe and inconvenient weather into an adventure.
All right. Well,
Easy for you to say.
I was actually thinking of this the other day. You know, my kids and I were home, you know, the storm is happening, there's no school, and, you know, my clients are all calling. I'm desperately trying to reschedule everybody. We're doing FaceTime sessions in one room, my kids are screaming in the other. And I was like, whoa, this has got to stop. This is craziness. This is absolute mayhem. And I stopped for a second. I said, you know, I am not required to be anywhere today. And if this was a regular day, I would be completely in my groove, running around, doing 100 things at once. And it really forced me to stop and say, okay. And then our power went out for several hours. Yeah, and it was a little chilly. And, you know, we were all huddled around the fire and we're doing, you know, board games and puzzles. We never would have done that had anything been different. So, you know, there definitely is a way of kind of reframing this and looking at this in a way where, okay, this is a positive. We all needed that rest. We needed that break and we needed that time together. And that's what it gave us.
And sometimes when the power goes out, there's no TV.
There's no
lights.
technology.
You use candles, you read books, and you talk to each other. It's amazing.
Yeah, it was pretty unbelievable. So that's a very sweet part of it. Another thing that I think is really important is to look closely within ourselves to see if we deal with depression and specifically seasonal affect disorder.
Yes.
So this is very big in this neck of the woods up here on the northern East Coast because with the changes of weather, the days are shorter. There's a lot of darkness, and for many people, this throws off their circadian rhythm, which is basically the thing inside us that tells us when it's time to be awake and when it's time to sleep, and it's attached to moods and all these other things. So it's interesting to kind of check in within yourself, and if you're struggling with symptoms of feeling agitated. Just a bit overwhelmed, just a certain sadness, having, lack of motivation, lack of interest in the things that you once did. There are definitely ways of kind of dealing with this. The way to kind of qualify for the diagnosis is to have it for 2 winters back to back.
Okay.
So usually it would start in the fall, and then it would continue until, early spring or so.
Right.
And, the easiest way to deal with this is really through phototherapy, which is Lightbox Therapy.
Okay, which is what?
Well, it's basically just a light box that you plug in. You can get it on Amazon. They're, very inexpensive.
Yeah.
And, while getting ready in the morning or getting dressed, just kind of sitting in front of it and kind of letting that take in the heat of that sometimes helps.
Is it a certain kind of light?
I'm not so familiar about, I think it's a mixture of, mirroring regular sunlight.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. And
Probably
so it
like
just,
sunlight,
and it just kind of brings in, it's interesting. I never really thought that would do much good, but a number of my clients have said within just a couple of days of using that
really
in the
helps.
morning has been tremendous for them.
That's great. So this when you're dealing with SAD, some of the symptoms can be very actually severe. I mean, it can be angry outbursts, difficult concentrating, suicidal thoughts. I mean, there can be some severe symptoms. So what do you do if you constantly are feeling this way and you don't know what to do about it?
I think it's like prepping for any storm. If you know that this is kind of where you're at every year at this time of we'll start prepping for it back in the fall. I have some clients that will, maybe take a low dose of an antidepressant come, September 1st through, April 1st. And then they wean themselves off of it, and then, they're fine through the summer months. If you're not in therapy, that's a great place to be to kind of learn some coping skills. This is different than dysthymia, which is kind of this low-level depression that kind of sits.
Right.
Because the difference is that lasts all year long.
Right.
This is very, very specific to time.
And it's definitely about the season. It's the season of winter.
Yes, absolutely.
And a lot to do with the fact that we don't have a lot of light in winter.
We don't have a lot of light. And, if it is at all possible to budget it in, plan a tropical vacation in the middle of January or the time where you're feeling most vulnerable.
Right. Okay, that's great advice. The third point is celebrate hospitality. Okay.
Yeah, I think you nailed it when you said this is really the time where we crawl in deep. We kind of isolate from those around us. But this is actually a really great time to rekindle old friendships, to meet new people. I have a friend who every year in mid-January hosts a soup party where everybody brings their favorite homemade soup. She makes all kinds of breads, but everybody is required to bring one friend that she doesn't know.
Oh.
And she sets up her living room with little tables, and we play board games, and it's a great way to meet people.
Right.
And sometimes it might take a little pushing to kind of get ourselves out of wanting to stay home and curl up around the fire. But sometimes it's a great time to kind of bring people in
together.
as
well. And the fact that you really can't go outside, you can't spread out into the outside, into the porch. You kind of all
are huddled in.
Are huddled together.
Yes.
So you're saying make that a shared experience and make it a positive and do it on purpose.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So highly recommend that.
Okay.
Number 4, I think, is one of the most challenging. And I got to say, I struggle with this.
We've talked about this many times.
Yes.
Yep.
Set aside a day of solitude.
Define a day of solitude. What does that mean?
Even, Julia, set aside an hour of solitude of basically just sitting with yourself. And I think that there's such a universal fear of that. We search for so much from those around us and from material possessions and from things within our world, that the whole idea of going deep inside into our own unconscious is absolutely terrifying. It reminds me of my daughter, who's terrified to go in our basement because she's convinced there are monsters down there because it's dark and cold. And I think people think the same thing, like, oh my goodness, if I dig deep, good Lord, what on earth am I going to find? But there's really a beautiful warmth and hearth in there that we need to attach ourselves to. And winter offers us the perfect time to be able to do that.
So it's almost reconnecting with yourself.
Reconnecting with yourself.
Right.
And it's hard to find that space and that time to be completely alone. And it's not loneliness because there's no longing for another. It's this very strong awareness of, you within yourself.
Right.
So
that's very interesting, and the environment of the winter gives you a perfect opportunity to do that because you don't even hear sounds outside.
Right.
I mean, you don't have the birds.
Yeah.
It's you're almost like in a cocoon.
Yes.
And so what a great time to just kind of breathe and almost a rebirth of yourself.
Yes, beautiful.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, and the 5th one is learn from the penguins. I love little penguins.
Oh,
what
I think
can we learn
all
from
do.
them?
I mean, they're such fascinating animals. And, a number of years ago, I had the opportunity to go to Antarctica for a couple of weeks. Yes.
Wow.
And so I studied a lot about penguins before leaving, and I've always found them fascinating. And I know most people have seen the movie March of the Penguins.
Yes.
I think that came out in 2005. And, it's unbelievable the lessons that they can teach us about life. And, we don't kill penguins. So when I was on the ice, they'll basically walk right up to you. They'll stand on your boots. They'll waddle up to you, and they'll just stare at you. I mean, they're very, very sweet creatures.
Yeah.
And the way that they take care of their young is absolutely beautiful. So I was thinking about my trip there, and I was thinking about penguins and kind of what we could learn from them.
Right.
And, it's just interesting when you say the waddling, because there's something about that slow movement that allows a certain amount of mindfulness.
Yeah.
They notice what's around them because
it takes them so long to get anywhere.
Yeah, because they're kind of slow moving.
Yeah.
But, it's interesting because their courting rituals are also very interesting as well. So they bow to the ones that they love.
Oh, they literally bow?
They literally bow to the ones they love, which is, such a respectful, kind of beautiful acknowledgement. And it's just so interesting because they all look the same, but yet they all know who the one is that they love. Oh. And also the way that the mothers kind of feed their children teaches us so much about nurturing and caretaking.
Yep.
And it was just interesting. I mean, I know that in the coldest and darkest of days, they all huddle together tightly. Yep. And I think there's something to be said about that. In our coldest and darkest times, it's when we bring those that we love and care about close to us and we hold tight. Right. And that is where our strength can come from.
Right. They become our cloak.
They become our clothes.
Yeah.
And finally, the one thing that I always try to remember about penguins is, my God, they can play like nobody.
Yeah.
You know,
they have fun.
They have so much fun, and they have such energy and, you know, playfulness about them in the way that they approach life, despite these really, really harsh conditions that they're in.
And they don't complain.
And they don't complain.
Learn from the penguins.
Learn from the penguins.
Okay. This has been great. So using winter months to grow internally, you've given us some 5 really good aspects to concentrate on. Thank you, Leslie.
Thank you, Julie. It's wonderful to be here.
It was great. We'll have you back very soon.
Thank you.
We now have a local singer-songwriter, Brian Duchaney, on set for our arts and entertainment segment. Take it away, Brian.
It's a song called Playing God. It's me who is the serf, or am I the slave? You rule the dynamic, but I run the game. You didn't want a master, but you were stuck with me. When it was time to meet your maker, is me who set you free, who set you free. Wall to wall and end to end, results always the same. When it comes to hiding in, you buy me again. You didn't want a master, but you were stuck with me. When it came time to meet your maker, it was me who set you free. Who opens the door? Do you claim free will? If the path is open, why should I empathize with you still? You say you didn't want a master, but you were stuck with me. When it came time to meet your maker, it was me who set you free. You didn't want a savior, but you were bound with me. When it came time to meet your maker, it was me who set you free, set you free, who let you be, who set you free.
Brian Duchaney, thank you so much for coming on to PCN Life. For those of you just tuning in, I'm Maureen Bates for PCN Life's Arts and Entertainment Report. So, Brian, you are a multifaceted guy. You're an adjunct professor. You have served in our armed forces. You were served in the Army. You're a gigging musician. So tell me how this all plays out. How does this play out?
The usual way, 4th grade, music. I want to play something, so I got started on trumpet, played trumpet through high school, and then my roommate in Germany in the Army actually played guitar, so that's how I ended up picking up guitar.
So you're a multi-instrumentalist.
I can henpeck piano, sort of play mandolin, sort of play bass. I focus guitar, but I can play a lot of things badly.
You're a noodler, as they say. You noodle a lot. So we learned a little bit earlier that, you know, you are a gigging musician. You do a lot of the covers. You do that kind of scene. But your original stuff, we're premiering tonight.
I've never played them in front of an audience, so this is my debut with original stuff.
You hear first time right here, everybody. Okay, you're very special. So, so let's talk to me a little bit about what you brought for us tonight.
The first song I played, Playing God. It's about my old iguana. He had died. I actually had to put him down. He hated me. It was just nice. I lived alone, so I had him with me, and I was kind of upset. So I just sat at the kitchen table writing and angry, and I sat on it for like 12 years, and this is what came out.
And then I gave you the call, and you're like, I got a great occasion to play this song.
Exactly. I sat home going, I need to finish the rest of this, and that's what I did.
Awesome, awesome. So, well, that's pretty exciting.
So thanks to the impetus to actually
get
to work on this
Sure,
stuff.
And writing is a thing for you, too, because you are a English professor, and you're actually a PhD candidate as well.
Correct, at Boston University. And then I've got, books and short stories, and I'm always writing something.
So it's a very natural thing for you. You got the music, you got the writing. It goes hand in hand.
I hope so.
Yeah. So, you've got the music thing going on. I hear there's something very special happening in your life right now.
Just had a baby boy. Yeah, it's been surreal. I'm sleep deprived, in case you can't tell. and it's been a blast so far.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations. We're going to have you on, play one more song. So take it away.
Thanks so much. The song's called Real. Stand before me, someone new. Really now, and how about you? Swear we've danced this dance before. When I see your face, it's something I cannot place. Swear we danced the dance before. From a dream you are real. Nothing left for me to conceal. Better chance, whatever it seems. For a moment I'm living in a dream. Like a storybook romance, from the shelf to explain chance. Swear we've danced this dance before. Explain me this a simple kiss. We sure it's you suddenly miss. Sure we've shared this night before. And from a dream you are real. Nothing left for me to conceal. For a chance, whatever it seems. For a moment I'm living in a dream. If anyone can explain, beyond me to complain, how can I rationalize something that's right before my eyes? For a moment we're alone. Forget the past, we're on our own. You and I, we found out what we can only be about. From a dream you are real. Nothing left for me to conceal. Fate or chance, whatever it seems. For a moment I'm living in a
Wow, what an incredible background. He's a professor, he's a veteran, a new dad, a singer, a songwriter.
And PhD candidate.
All around nice guy, too.
What a slacker, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. We always go into the new year, and as human beings, we go into the new year with these dreams of, all right, well, this is what I'm going to do this year. This is the year that I learn to play guitar. This is the year that I get in shape. This is the year I learn how to eat right. This is the year I go into grad school. I mean, even myself, 9 years ago, January 1st, I actually bought a guitar.
Did you?
And I'm like, this is the year I do it. And every day I still play.
Do you?
Kind of like him, I won't play in front of anybody, but good for him.
Yeah, and this was his debut of his original music, which was beautiful.
How bold. Good for him. That was awesome.
It was excellent. Very, very good.
Well, we hope you enjoyed this episode of PCN Life. We'll be back in 2 weeks with a new episode. But until then, you can catch this episode and others on our YouTube channel or see updates on our Facebook page or Instagram account. PCN will be back next week. Until then, keep living life.